Hi, this is Jeff Lamb. Welcome to my podcast. It's called Losing My Mind. See, I've had this really interesting life so far. I've done things that I couldn't even dream of when I was a kid, dreaming of what my life might be. Well, I figured I'd better start putting some of these stories down somewhere before I really do lose my mind. These won't be in any particular order, and they're mostly for me, so I don't forget. But you're more than welcome to listen in. Podcast number 7. When I was 19 or 20 years old, I used to go to WWCK, the radio station. Didn't work there, but I was there every day. I'd sit in the lobby under the guise of being there to visit Peter C. Kavanaugh, the general manager, or my brother Bill, who was in sales at WWCK. And I'd sit in the lobby and talk to Annie and anybody else that was willing to talk to me. And finally, I think Pete Kavanaugh just wanted his seat in the lobby back. So he called me into his office, and he says, "Hey, Jeff, you do voices, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, cartoon voices, things like that." He said, "Well, I had this idea." He said, "What do you think about doing a show for us here Saturday morning? In that Flint is all auto industry. What do you think about doing a show called Cartoons? And we have Yogi Bear and Boo Boo introducing records and different cartoon characters." And I thought about it. I looked at him and I said, "Nah, I think that's kind of dumb. The guy's offering me a job, and I'm not even bright enough to take it." He says, "Well, what are you thinking, Jeff? Because you're here a lot." And I said, "I don't know. I was kind of thinking about an idea for a show called The Buffalo Dick Show." He says, "What's that?" "Well, the host would be named Buffalo Dick, and he has a sidekick, Buffalo Chip, and a brother, Buffalo Peter, and a sister cow, Patty. And they have different guests that come on the show, and there'll be a live gallery of kids like Howdy Doody or Bozo's Big Top or one of those things." He said, "Well, do you have any of them done yet?" I said, "No, I'm just kind of thinking of it now." He said, "Well, tell you what." He says, "Go home." I think that was his goal, was to get me to go home. He says, "Go home and put something together and bring it in, and I'll hear what you're thinking." I said, "Okay." So I went home, and 2 days later I came back with this Buffalo Dick show. And it was Buffalo Dick and his sidekick, Buffalo Chip. I had a pre-recorded live gallery of kids that I got someplace going, "Yay!" And the first guest was Patrolman Skep. And he was showing videos, safety videos to the kiddies. And here you see little Billy crossing the street, and he doesn't look both ways. And he goes out and you hear brakes and you hear a thud sound and the kids go, "Yay." And Pete was just dying laughing at this. He says, "Can you do that every time?" I said, "What?" He says, "Can you make it funny like that every time?" I said, "I don't know. That's the first one." He said, "Tell you what, put 5 in the can and we'll put this thing on the air, but we'll move it to Saturday night because it's a little edgy." And I said, "Okay." So I went home, put 5 in the can. He loved them. We started the show, Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch, hit the airwaves at WIOT. In the first year, we were getting unbelievable ratings because the show started out saying, "It's time for Mom and Dad to leave the room because your old pal Buffalo Dick is on the air." So anyway, I'm inviting the parents to leave the room. So they kind of wanted to hear what was going on. And well, they totally got the show because they grew up in the Bozo, Mr. Magic, Howdy Doody era, and they understood the whole concept of a live gallery of kids and all that stuff. And the kids were kind of getting something new. And they were listening to something they didn't think they were supposed to be listening to because I invited their... Anyway, it was working. The parents were listening upstairs. The kids were listening in the basement. And we had like a 39 share, 25-54, a ridiculously huge number. And they were like that all the way across the board, 18 to 34, and men and women and kids. And it was just doing really, really well. Then Pete submitted it to Billboard Magazine, and it actually won the Billboard Magazine Award for Best Locally Produced Show in all markets. It beat Los Angeles. It beat Chicago, New York. And so we were celebrating that, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to send this off to some syndicators and just see what the heck happens. So I found 4 syndicators, And syndication was kind of a new thing. Westwood One was the big one. London Wavelength was another one. Dick Orkin was a producer of Chicken Man and The Tooth Fairy, a great big influence on me growing up. I used to love those shows. It was all theater of the mind, which is what Buffalo Dick was going to be. And oh, by the way, Pete decided we'd call the show Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch. So that was pretty cool. It was a great name for it. I found a guy named George Salovich, who was the vice president of marketing at Atlantic Records. He was interested in syndicating it as well. So anyway, here I am, 20 years old. I've got this Billboard Award under my arm. I've got these great ratings. And now I'm talking to syndicators. So I get flown out to New York, where I meet with London Wavelength. I get to the airport, and there's a guy with a sign with my name on it, and he drives me to London Wavelength, and we get in there, and we start the meeting, and they said, you know what? We've got a surprise for you. So if you'll just go with this gentleman here, we'll have our meeting tomorrow. And I said, okay. I had no idea what was going on. So anyway, we jump in the car, and we go to 30 Rockefeller, which is where NBC is. And we jump on an elevator, we get off of the floor, and there's this long line of people. And we walk right past the line to the front of it, and the guy says to the usher, or the guy at the door, he says, I'm looking for Dr. Danger. The guy says, right this way. So we were the first ones in the studio. And we get down, we're in the front row. And as we're going down this studio, I see, hey, this is the David Letterman show. So we're sitting in the front row, and then the crowd comes in, and then David Letterman comes out, and I didn't realize he warmed up his own crowd. So I'm sitting there in the front row in a three-piece suit with a briefcase. Well, you've seen Letterman's show. Nobody gets dressed up for that. So I'm in the front row in a suit, sticking out like a sore thumb, and Letterman takes a shot. He says something about it, and I thought, well, I'm pretty clever, so I'll say something back. Well, I did, and I really shouldn't have, because David Letterman has gears that I didn't even know existed, and he just threw it in another gear and just buried me. In a fun way, but he buried me. So no mas, I surrendered, and that was that. So now he disappears backstage, and they start the show. David Letterman! He comes out, and I'm thinking, oh, this would be great. Gosh, who's going to be on tonight? Is it going to be like Paul McCartney or Paul Simon? Or no, it's Dr. Ruth. But it was a good show. It was a good time, and it was nice that they could take me there. So then the next day we have a meeting, and I said, okay, well, I've got 3 more meetings I got to take, but I'll certainly get back to you as soon as I can. So then I go back to Flint. Now I jump on another plane, and I'm flying to L.A. I'm meeting with Westwood One. Norm Pattis is the president and CEO of Westwood One. I walk into his office, and he goes, howdy, hi, Buffalo Dick. Color me freaked out right off the bat. Anyway, we start negotiating, and I'm telling them about London Wavelength and how that went. And they said, well, they're a okay company, but they're really not going to be able to deliver what we can. And I said, well, they're delivering more money in their offer. And they said, well, yeah, but what is that really? He says, if they cancel you after a month, then there's no money at all. So what good is that? Good point, Norm. All right. I tell them I'll get back to them. I've got to go back to Flint. I've got one more meeting in New York. They were a little surprised by that, but they said, okay, we'll wait to hear from you. So I jump on a plane, I go back to Flint, then I get on another plane, go to New York. Now I'm at Atlantic Records in New York. I'm in the conference room with George Salovich, the vice president of marketing, and I noticed there's a cutout, life-size cutout of a girl in the corner. Didn't know who she was? Pretty enough. And then she walks by the open door. He says, hey, come in here a second. He says, Jeff, here's a girl we just signed. Her name is Mariah Carey. Mariah, this is Jeff Lamb. Well, I didn't know her. She didn't know me. So anyway, we were both at the very, very start of whatever we were growing there. And then he took me to the Russian tea room for lunch. And we're sitting there, and there's Roger Mudd, an anchor guy, sitting there eating. And Carol Bayer Sager was there, and a couple other celebrities. It was kind of a neat experience because the Russian tea room is a pretty fancy joint, even by New York standards. Now I get back to Flint, Michigan, and I decide I'm going to call Dick Orkin because I hadn't heard back from them yet. The one syndicator that I really wanted to talk to. And they said, yeah, we don't syndicate anything that we don't produce ourselves. So thank you, but no thanks. That one stung a little because he was such a hero of mine growing up and someone that I listened to all the time. But okay. Unfortunately, about 2 months after I had contacted him, he comes out with Dick Orkin's Radio Ranch. It was the new name of his production company. But I was really disappointed in him because I really thought he was a very creative, clever guy. It didn't dawn on me that he would be one that would steal material. And I ran into him at he was in Toledo speaking at something, and I heard he was coming, so I went to it. And after he got done speaking, I walked up and I said, "Hi, Dick." He says, "Hi." I says, "Jeff Lamb." He says, "Hi, Jeff." I said, "Name sound familiar at all?" He goes, "Nope." I said, "Well, I wrote you, and I had sent you a show to syndicate, and you said you don't syndicate anything that you don't produce yourselves. And you might remember it. It was called Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch." The look on his face was great. He kind of bit his lip, had nothing to say, turned and walked away, but he knew that I knew that he had ripped me off, and I finally got to confront him about it. Anyway, Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch, I ended up signing with Westwood One. I had them handle the syndication, and I cut a deal with George Salovich to handle all the promotion because he had done promotion for Bette Midler, Led Zeppelin, all the Atlantic artists. So we had a live show at Russellville Ballroom to announce the fact it was going nationwide. I had Rob Paulson come in. He had done some shows with me before he moved to L.A. He had done some of the characters for me and created some characters for me. And then he moved out to L.A. and went on to become Pinky of Pinky and the Brain, Yakko of the Animaniacs. He was one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now he's been 2 or 3 of them in all their different iterations. But he's on everything. He was Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron. But he turned out to be very, very successful. Anyway, he came back for this show. The show's a couple days away, so we're writing as fast as we can. We get the thing written, and then we jump in the car and head to Russellville for the show. And we don't know if anybody's going to be there or not. I'm thinking, I hope so. Hope it'll be good. It's a big room. I hope we fill it. And we get there, and there's a line around the building. And we go inside, and it's already full. The people outside aren't even going to get in because all the seats are taken. It had a giant wooden dance floor, and people are sitting Indian style on the floor. It was just packed. We did the show. It went very well. George Salovich showed up with little boxes of buffalo crap, and they were in little clear plastic cases within a box. And it was actual buffalo dung. And it said on the box, "May all your trails be free of road apples." And that's the way I always ended the show. "May all your trails be free of road apples. Adios, muchachos." And so he had that, and everybody loved those. We went through those and handed out a ton of them that night. He had bumper stickers for Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch. But it was a great night, a lot of fun. But what a great night that was, and what a great experience it was. And it lasted for about a year in syndication. We got to a little over 100 cities nationwide, but we weren't able to land any major markets. We were in all secondary and tertiary markets. We were in Kaiser, West Virginia, and Lufkin, Texas, and Tallahassee, Florida, and just all over. And I had a great big map of the U.S. and I kept sticking pins in with little flags on them that had the call letters of the station. So it was getting impressive when we got over 100 stations. But it all came to an end because they couldn't land the big markets. And if you can't get the big markets, you can't be syndicated because the advertisers, they'll take the secondary and tertiary markets in addition to, but not instead of the major markets. And the major markets were all afraid of it. They just thought it was too edgy. But ironically, in every market it was in, it did the exact same thing it did in Flint. Huge numbers. Lightning in a bottle for a minute there. But it worked out great in all the cities it was in. But the major markets were afraid of it. Norm Pattis was inducted into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame. You remember Norm Pattis was the president and founder of Westwood One. Well, a friend of mine was at the induction ceremonies, and he said, he says, when he got up for his acceptance speech, he spent the first 10 minutes of his acceptance speech saying, "Shame on you, major markets. The best show we ever had was Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch, and you were all afraid of it, and it was doing gangbusters in every city it was in, but shame on you guys for not having it and not carrying it." And that was the first 10 minutes of his acceptance speech. I thought that was pretty rich. Anyway, that's the story of Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch. Here's a quick segment of Buffalo Dick. I hope you like it.
It's time for Mom and Dad to leave the room because your old pal, Buffalo Dick, is on the air. Yay! Howdy hi, buckaroos. Howdy hi, Buffalo Dick. Let's hear it from my cute, cuddly, adorable little sidekick buddy, Buffalo Chip.
Howdy hi, Buffalo Chip. Howdy hi, buckos and buckettes. Well, we got a great podcast for him today. How about it, Buffalo Dick?
Well, you better know it, little buddy. Today we're going to play the Mystery Guest Game. You're listening to Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch.
Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch rocks!
Hi, kids. This is Announcer Bob reminding you to stop by BuffaloDick.tv and check out the best of CDs. Now, back to the show. We're going to do something now that we do from time to time on the Radio Ranch. We're going to play the Mystery Guest Game.
Yay!
Trying to figure out the identity of our mystery guest are our panelists. The producer, Uncle Werner, Buster the janitor, and my cute, cuddly, adorable little sidekick buddy, Buffalo Chip. Let's get going.
Will the mystery guest sign in, please?
Our mystery guest is Britney Spears.
Yay!
Okay, our mystery guest is seated and our panel is blindfolded.
Almost blindfolded. There we go.
Wait a minute. Did you see the mystery guest?
What mystery guest?
Never mind. Okay, panel, you may now ask questions of the mystery guest one at a time.
Is it Britney Spears?
Yeah!
No. Now wait just a cotton-picking minute. Kids, quiet down. Uncle Werner, you're disqualified. We have to get another mystery guest because you didn't have your blindfold on.
Okay, but did I win?
People who are disqualified don't win anything.
Well, then I don't want to be disqualified. Just give me another chance.
Now, how am I going to do that?
Is it Britney Spears?
Yeah!
No, hold it. That doesn't count.
Boy, is he good.
He's too good for me, that's for sure.
He's not that good. He didn't get his blindfold on in time.
Well, to be perfectly honest, she smelled like Pepsi.
Amazing.
She doesn't smell like Pepsi.
All right. I booked her on the show. That's why I told you I didn't want to be on the panel.
Oh, I thought you were afraid you'd be a bad panelist.
Bad panelist? I won, didn't I?
He's got a point there, Mr. Dick.
I wish I could disagree with him.
So do I win the Cuisinart?
No, and you're off the panel.
Okay. Bye, kids. Have fun, but don't be so noisy.
Okay, panelists, put your blindfolds back on so we can bring out our next mystery guest.
What, you got a line of mystery guests backstage?
Just put your blindfold on and be quiet. Now, are the panelists ready?
Ready, Mr. Dick.
Good. Okay, kids, let's go.
Will the mystery guest sign in, please?
Hi, kids.
Just sign in. The next mystery guest is Uncle Werner.
Yay!
All right, Chipper, the mystery guest is seated and you can ask your first question.
How much money do you make?
Well, that's none of your business. You shouldn't ask personal questions.
Okay, no personal questions.
How big's your business?
9 inches.
No, I meant, how big's your company?
I don't have a company, silly.
Well, it ain't Donald Trump. Your turn, Buffalo Chip.
Is it Sylvester Stallone?
Well, I should say not.
Boy, this is a tough one. I sure wish Uncle Werner was here.
Do you have a question?
Sure I do. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
What kind of question is that?
Well, a woodchuck would chuck, although he could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. This is fun.
Boy, I don't know. Hey, Buffalo Chip, did you get anything out of that?
Just that woodchucks are hard-working animals, boy.
Can we get on with this?
Can I buy a vowel?
No, you can't. Buffalo Chip, it's your turn.
How many fingers am I holding up?
That's easy. 3.
Is it Enrique Iglesias?
No.
Wait a minute. I think I'm onto something here. Sing Blue Suede Shoes.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to...
No, that wasn't it.
This is the hardest one ever.
Oh, do I get a prize?
No, you don't get a prize.
Oh, excuse me.
Hold the phone. There's only one person that can crack one like that.
Who is
Who's
it?
that?
Martha Stewart.
Oh, for crying out loud.
We'll be right back.
Baseballs, basketballs, football.
It's a warehouse clearance sale. Every ball in stock is on sale now, from basketballs to volleyballs, but only at Bob's Ball.
Hi, I'm Bob. Why is everyone playing with my balls? Because I sell nothing but top brand names and people know the difference.
We secretly replaced Bob's balls with cheap imitations. Let's see if our customers know the difference.
Hey, these aren't Bob's balls. You bastards.
These are not Bob's balls.
Yeah, here's a leather. Smell these.
My customers know my balls. You should too.
Oh, nice balls, Bob.
Thanks. I wouldn't play with anything else.
Come into Bob's Balls and feel the difference. Save on every ball at every Bob's Balls location.
Hey, all you soccer moms, come on in and kick my balls. See for yourself.
If you've never been here, come in and get familiar with Bob's Balls.
I won't be happy until everyone is playing with my balls.
Come in and see Bob's balls.
Now at a mall near you.